This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. Labor has revealed its long-awaited gaming policy, one that could prove to be a vote winner or an election killer. It's announced the phasing out of poker machines in pubs and clubs, reining them back into casinos. If the party wins government, those casino licences will also come under scrutiny, a move that could see federal hotels lose its monopoly. Louise Hedger begins our coverage.
Standing with the Labor team, the opposition leader announcing the party's long-awaited pokies policy.
An elected majority Labor government would seek to remove poker machines from pubs and clubs from 2023.
If Labor wins the next election, it will give notice to federal hotels that its pokies deed will end in 5 years. That means almost 2,500 poker machines will be banned from venues across the state. Last year, $110 million was spent on the pokies, money Labor says is better spent within communities.
Overwhelmingly, people do not want poker machines in pubs and clubs. We've listened to that, we've consulted with the community and with the venues themselves, and we think we've got the right result here that puts people before profits.
Under the policy, the deadline for the removal of pokies would be July 2023. In the lead-up, venues that voluntarily surrender their machines would have access to a funding package. That includes a $20 million pool for transitional support and $25 million worth of long-term low-interest loans. Venues who keep their pokies up to the deadline won't have access to this money. The Liberals' policy is to slash 5% of pokies across the state. The Premier claims Labor's plans would buckle the hospitality industry and take away people's free will.
They should also have to explain why it is they can spend $50 million of taxpayer funds paying compensation to Tasmanians who've had their jobs taken away by them.
The Premier and the Liberals are on the wrong side of history here.
An emotional Cassie O'Connor, a long-term anti-pokies campaigner, says the policy's a game changer, with now 2 of the 3 major political parties supporting the ban.
This is an announcement that will save lives and livelihoods. It's extremely significant. Ultimately, this is a win for the community.
As well as poker machines, casino licences will also come under review. Under Labor's policy, Treasury will examine the value, duration and method of issuing casino licences beyond 2023. The party will also support 2 new high-roller casinos in the north and the south.
I'm quite confident that this is in the best interests of Tasmanians.
Despite its potential impact on federal hotels, the company wasn't commenting today. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Social welfare groups are applauding the policy, saying it will reduce family and financial breakdowns. But critics warn it will cause job losses and social isolation, along with a rise in online gambling.
Karen Page says her regular customers treat this pub like a home, with the pokies playing an important social role, especially for pensioners.
They've got a safe environment, they know who we are, we know who they are.
She worries banning pokies to solve one social ill will simply lead to another: loneliness.
What would they do? They'd sit home.
As Labor takes pokey reform to the polls, there's division over whether these machines are good or bad for society. Those working on gambling addictions front line say they're exposed to pokies' ugly side.
Tasmanians never asked for that harm to be put into their suburbs, and now they're telling government that they want that harm removed.
The expectation being no pokies means more money for families.
To actually put food on the table, send their kids to school with full bellies.
But publicans we spoke to said it's robbing Peter to pay Paul, risking job losses and even trading hours in some venues, although Labor is committing $4 million for retraining programs.
Bringing them back into the casino environment will just enable us to have better controls about those who are experiencing problems with gambling.
One regional mayor says it's a bad deal for those outside the major centres.
They can't just catch a cab and go for 5 minutes to go to the casino. It's going to be felt right across the board in regional rural Tasmania.
That could potentially see a shift to online platforms, increasing isolation while sucking money out of people's pockets as well as local pubs. Even punters are split.
It's just another thing they want to get rid of. I don't really like gambling, wasting money.
The Tasmanian Hotels Association declined to comment. We'll now have to wait and see if Labor's gamble pays off in March. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Labor leader Rebecca White joins us now live from Perth. Good evening, Rebecca, and thanks so much for joining us. We've just heard this could cost some people their jobs. You say this will create jobs, so both arguments can't be right. So how do you propose jobs will be created?
Thank you, Joe. We've had economic advice as well as independent expert advice that demonstrates that the $110 million that's lost every year by Tasmanians in poker machines in pubs and clubs across Tasmania would be recirculated in the community. Even if half of that money was recirculated in the community, it could create as many as 180 jobs. We understand the transition will be difficult for some venues, and that's why we've provided $4 million to support workers so that they can retrain or access professional development. It is also a phase-in over 5 years, so it gives time for venues to adjust.
With the research that you've conducted, has it indicated that any pubs and clubs throughout Tasmania won't survive without the poker machine revenue?
No, the evidence that was presented to the committee in a consultation that I have been undertaking over the last 2 months has illustrated to me that this is an issue that we need to take action on now. We'll support venues to transition across the next 5 years if we are successfully elected in March next year. But quite frankly, this issue is too big to ignore. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to take action, to remove poker machines from our pubs and clubs, to let that $110 million be spent in other ways in our communities, and to protect people from the harms of problem gambling on poker machines.
A point the Premier's made today is that this is taking away people's free will. So say I'm a pensioner and I live in St Helens, a casino is simply not accessible to me. Why should I not have the choice?
We understand that there are some people who enjoy this sort of gambling, and that's why we will allow casinos to continue to operate poker machines. But there are many ways that pubs provide entertainment to people right across Tasmania. We have many pubs who don't have poker machines. They're vibrant places and lots of people love to use them. And I'm sure over the next 5 years we can continue to provide opportunities for those venues to do so well in Tasmania.
OK, Rebecca, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, the state government is confident it will find private backers to support plans to build a cable car at Cradle Mountain. Despite the project estimated to cost more than $50 million, the government says the development will go ahead, with Labor also committing to see the project through.
The cable car project at Cradle Mountain will now go ahead, with both the Labor and Liberal parties agreeing to the vision.
Labor obviously made their commitment a couple of weeks ago, 30 million. Libs have done it today. It's bipartisan. It's happening. We're not. It's not a hypothetical anymore. We are full steams ahead for a cableway here at Cradle.
The aim is to give tourists another option to get from the visitor centre down to Dove Lake.
They'll do it in a way that's much more comfortable. They'll do it in a way that's sensitive to the environment, and a way that puts this place right up there with Uluru and the Great Barrier Reef as the nation's best World Heritage destinations.
The first sod was turned today at the site of the new visitor centre, cafe and bus turnaround.
The works that are being undertaken here, the $21.8 million that was announced to redevelop this site, is critical to ensuring that it actually meets the expectations of our visitors.
Tourist numbers are steadily rising, up 30% from last year.
We're getting close to 300,000 visitors at Cradle Mountain Lake St Clair at the moment, and that's certainly up there with Freycinet National Park. So between the two, these two locations are certainly our prime iconic destinations in Tasmania.
In Tasmania, whether it's Mona or Sapphire or Pump House Point or some of the events we've got generating, when we do world-class tourism, the market responds.
If re-elected, the Liberal Party says within its first 100 days of office, expressions of interest will be opened for private investors to come forward. Securing the multi-million-dollar project will get off the ground. Tourism Tasmania says this cash injection is the largest announcement for any national park in Australia.
So when you think about what that says about Tasmania, how we value our protected areas, what it says about how Australian Tasmanians view our national parks as the engine rooms of our tourism industry, how we want to invest as these assets and seize the return that we get, I think it tells a really good story about Tasmania in 2017.
Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
The High Court has decided to delay the replacement of 2 former Tasmanian senators until further eligibility questions are resolved. Jackie Lambie and Stephen Parry's replacements will be decided early in the new year. Former Liberal Minister Richard Colbeck and Devonport Mayor Steve Martin are expected to replace the former senators who resigned from Parliament over dual citizenship. Meanwhile, Braddon Labor MP Justine Kay has remained tight-lipped on whether she will refer herself to the High Court over her own citizenship concerns.
Well, we'll see what the Parliament comes up when we go back in February. That's the next opportunity for us to go there and address these issues. But I know Australians just want this over and done with.
Ms Kay has renounced her citizenship but was still a British citizen on election night last year. A 14-year-old girl remains in a critical condition after she came close to drowning near Devonport earlier this week. The girl was rescued by surf lifesavers on Monday afternoon and taken to the Royal Hobart Hospital. More than $1,500 has been raised online to support the young girl and her family during treatment. A strange-looking high-tech military aircraft has touched down for a Tasmanian mission. It's the first time the E-7A Wedgetail has visited the state, and it was a Tasmanian in the pilot's seat.
Touching down at Hobart Airport. A unique, high-tech and strange-looking E-7A Wedgetail on its first mission to our state. Pulling the aircraft up in its parking spot, the pilot keeping an eye out for his personal welcoming party. 2 very proud Launceston parents.
It's amazing. It's just a great experience to be able to have been able to come down and to experience him landing the plane. We've never seen him land a plane before, so.
This is one of 6 Australian Wedgetails. It's based on Boeing 737 but includes a high-tech radar system mounted near its tail. On missions, it's an eye in the sky, controlling battle airspace, providing information for fighter jets and tracking airborne and maritime targets. They've been deployed to the Middle East as part of Operation Okra.
Essentially, we're doing a surveillance type operation over there, so keeping an eye on our aircraft as well as other aircraft in the area, and basically helping out the coalition's efforts against Daesh.
So I've flown on a lot of 737s, and this one would certainly be the strangest. It's got lots of antennas and lumps and bumps and things, and hopefully we'll have a bit of a look around.
27-year-old James was in the hot seat for a very special homecoming.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's an opportunity that not many people are likely to ever get, I imagine. So bringing the aircraft back to Tassie, the first time it's ever been into Hobart or into Tasmania at all, is a pretty proud day for me, and I think my parents are pretty happy as well.
Today's trip is a pilot training exercise, but also an opportunity for cadets to step on board.
Approximately 70% of all our cadets transition to a career in the ADF, pending vacancies of course, but it is a very well-worn path.
18-year-old Mitchell is an Australian Air Force cadet and is hoping to follow James's footsteps.
I decided to do it when I was 3 years old, and it seemed to make sense since then, so it's one of the best jobs out in my opinion.
Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Make-A-Wish volunteers have made the day for a young Hobart boy who's affected by a type of muscular dystrophy. Lucas Peters wanted to know what it's like to be rich, and today he had a taste of just that.
This was no ordinary school pickup as the red carpet rolled out. Classmates forming a guard of honour as Lucas Peters and his best friend skipped out on school a little early, a limousine waiting to whisk them off for a surprise. Pulling up in Sandy Bay, Lucas wasn't sure what to expect.
What was it like inside?
Fancy. It was pretty amazing to go on a limo for the first time.
A warm welcome from Rest Point staff as he and his entourage were escorted right to the top. There in the Point revolving restaurant 17 floors up, a high tea laid out.
So today is about the anticipation journey. So Make-A-Wish is really big on building up the excitement and the passion for the wish and trying to make that a really enjoyable experience for the child.
In March, Lucas is heading up to Sydney to live up the big life, a trip fulfilling his wish to know what it feels like to be rich. Make-A-Wish is organising the trip for Lucas, who's affected by a form of muscular dystrophy.
It is important.
unless you've lived the life of children with disabilities and families with disabilities, you never really understand how much of a toll it does take on the entire family.
Make-A-Wish is a not-for-profit organisation that is solely funded through donations from the public and fundraising events that happen like our annual charity ball.
A very fancy bubbling dessert finished off today's little taste of the high life.
He's sitting over there at the moment with his cool McCool glasses on. So he's always rated himself a bit because he's been on TV a few times and often reminds us of that.
But the starring role is still to come. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Tasmania Police has 2 new recruits, and today some excited school children were given the opportunity to meet them. The new community mascots visiting kindergarten students at Waimea Heights Primary School in a bid to teach youngsters about the role of police.
Today we were talking about road safety, we were talking about stranger danger. This is the introduction, the first introduction for the new characters.
The students suggested calling the mascots Constable Respect, Pikachu and Bonbon. People with mobility issues will soon have better access to the Ulverston Men's Shed after years of raising funds for improving site access. Braddon MP Justine Kay announced $9,500 funding today as part of the Braddon Community Grants Program.
To help them with their project to build a ramp and footpath to enable people in wheelchairs and others with mobility issues to come and access a community shed.
The $19,000 project has been years in the making, and it's hoped more than 500 people who walk through the doors each month will benefit. Construction will begin in February. The Environment Protection Authority has concluded its assessment of a proposed abattoir on King Island. The proposal by King Island Meat Processing Proprietary Limited is to produce a maximum 10,000 tonnes of meat products per year. The EPA believes the development could be managed in an environmentally sustainable manner, but concerns have been raised about the risk of surface and groundwater contamination and the potential for odour and noise. The assessment will now be forwarded to the King Island Council for review. JBS Australia closed its beef operation on the island in 2012. Milk processing giant Fonterra is lifting the amount it pays its suppliers. Local dairy farmers with Fonterra will now receive $5.62 per kilogram of milk solids, an increase of 10 cents per kilo. However, the co-op says global demand is softening. Fonterra came under fire last year when it slashed farmgate milk prices. Moving on to the day's business and finance news now, with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The share market has closed slightly higher as the property sector was boosted by the $33 billion takeover of Westfield, and consumer staples also rose. The ASX 200 index has risen by 8.6 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 75.79 US cents and 64.43 euro cents.
The Hobart Hurricanes' new international signings have shown their worth, helping the side along to a pre-season win against the Sydney Sixers in Wollongong. Hard-hitting cult favourite Darcy Short looks to be in fine touch also, leading the way with the bat, while Alex Doolan has been approved to join the squad for the upcoming BBL season, replacing injured Western Australian David Mooney. He became a favourite among the Canes faithful last BBL season thanks to his raw power with the bat. And in yesterday's pre-season match, Darcy Short showed glimpses of it again, belting 54 off 41 balls as the side went on to claim a 14-run win over the Sixers. A positive sign ahead of next Thursday's BBL 7 opener against the Renegades at Blunston.
No matter what you're playing, I guess you play to win, but it's good to get game one out of the way and a win under the belt.
The Canes' new internationals also impressing on debut, with Barbadian all-rounder Jofra Archer among the best with the bat, while English paceman Tamal Mills took his first scalp in purple, claiming 1 for 26.
I think it was exciting to obviously see what our internationals were like, and the boys bowled really well. I think we've got a lot of variety in our attack now.
Meantime, up-and-coming 3-year-old gelding Penstock continues his preparation for next month's $100,000 Tasmanian Guineas, starting heavy favourite in race 6 of tonight's 7-race meet in Launceston.
He's probably still not quite there yet, but he's only had the 2 runs. By the time he gets 4 or 5 runs,
I've learnt what it's all about. And he's the same family as Fragment and Treasury Bond, so, you know, his horse will get better with age.
The upcoming Hobart International has been given a huge boost with one of world tennis's most popular players signing on. Canadian Eugenie Bouchard has been awarded a wild card and will be looking to go one better after falling short in 2016. Going down in straight sets to France's Elise Cornet in the 2016 final, Bouchard returns to Hobart with unfinished business.
I think she was a bit disappointed not getting the win in her first appearance, and yeah, I think she's going to get a lot of support from the crowd.
The Canadian fills the first of 4 wildcard spots, providing she gets through next month's Hopman Cup in Perth injury-free. Formerly ranked number 5 in the world, Bouchard is now sitting at 82.
She won't get any points playing at Hopman Cup, so this one's really important in terms of getting some points and some further match play leading into Australian Open.
Competition will be stiff this time around though, with several top 40 ranked players in the 2018 field, including former winners Elise Mertens and Elise Cornet. But the lesser ranked Bouchard will once again bring with her one of the most popular profiles in world sport.
Definitely a bonus to the tournament, there's no doubt about it.
The tournament begins on January 7, with the rest of the wildcards to be announced in the coming weeks.
Good evening. Hobart and Launceston 26 degrees today, Burnie 20 and Devonport 21. 31 today's top at Fingal and Strawn. Temperatures up to 8 degrees above average for this time of year. Partly cloudy day for most of the state, but sunny over the north and east. Flinders Island, Campania and Ouse 27. King Island and Friendly Beaches 26. Grove and Cressy 25. St Helens 23. Lyawini 22. Wynyard a top of 20. There is an organised band of cloud moving across South Australia towards Victoria. Some low-level cloud is through the Bight and southwest WA, scattered cumulus cloud over parts of New South Wales and the top end. A little high cloud moved across the state today, some low cloud over Bass Strait and through the northeast. Tomorrow, 2 fronts are troubling Tasmania and Victoria. A trough extends from the first front to over northwest WA, several lows also over the north of the country. The northwesterly breezes will turn west-southwesterly tomorrow morning and will reach 30 knots over the north and south during the day. We do have a strong wind warning from Stanley to St Helens Point and from Tasman Island to Sandy Cape, a small craft wind alert for the lakes. 2 tomorrow and a shower or 2 for Hobart, 24, 21 for Cygnet, a shower for New Norfolk and 22 degrees. A possible early shower for Launceston, 27 the maximum, 23 for Devonport and 28 for Campbelltown, showers possibly. Early shower for Burnie, 22 the top, 18 for Strawn, a shower for Smithton and 20 degrees. And for St Helens, a late shower, 29, 28 for Swansea and Fingal. Extreme 11's the UV for the state tomorrow. On Friday, fine apart from morning showers over the northeast. Showers developing on Saturday, firstly over the west and south, but mostly cloudy for the rest of the state. Fine on Sunday, but partly cloudy. Sunny in Perth, partly cloudy and 24 in Adelaide. A possible shower for Melbourne. Hot weather in Canberra, Sydney and Brisbane. Possible storms for Darwin and Alice Springs. Cloudy weather at the moment, 23 in Hobart, 25 in Launceston, partly cloudy in Devonport and 20. Bit of a change in the air, Joe, and I reckon that's enough from me tonight.
That is more than enough from you tonight. You just can sit down now. Thank you very much. And that's all from the team for now. Have a great evening. We'll see you a little bit later. Bye-bye.